welcome to Proof Beyond Reason. PBR episode 7.
We're like at 7 or 8.
I feel like
know.
we're like at 9. This is going by.
Gee, you sure? We should be at like 16 by now. I think he's
7?
I think he's docking us.
Are we at 7 for real?
He's docking us episodes right
Well,
now.
we're at episode 7. Let's give a shout out to our sponsors real quick. Matthew Movement, Where Would You Believe? Go check them out, MatthewMovement.com. We saw some people commenting. We got There's a Need that was sharing our stuff. I mean, it's looking. And this week we got our special guest, Joanny.
Hello.
Like, hey, Joanny's coming from she's a Knoll.
She's the Knoll.
She's a Knoll. So how do Knolls like gators? Like, is that no joke? Like, it's no joke. You see a gator, like you're rolling your sleeves out. Like, yeah. She said, yeah. It's not.
There's real hatred
There is
in that, and I want to
And
go to
they're
a
a part
game
of-
because I want to be right in the middle of
They're
it.
a part of. I would love to be right.
Absolutely.
In the middle, but you have to sit me in the Knoll section, and I have to be wearing orange. Like, it's gotta be.
You're asking to not be.
And then I want to be hated more because I want to be the guy that they think doesn't know anything. That he's wearing the orange with the gator, but then the orange with the green with the Miami on the hat, and they're gonna be like, "Yo, this guy's not even a real fan," and they're gonna hate me more.
No, and then you roll up your socks, and they're FSU socks, and you're like,
They're
but
like,
I'm wearing these.
Knights, the Knights. I'm gonna have USF too, a Bulls.
You can only do that if you're sitting next to G. If G's not there, I cannot permit you put yourself through that.
So we got Joanny with us. She's gonna be hitting us on the collegiate presence of evil, because that's what we're going to be talking about
Hatred.
today is presence of hatred.
Hatred, not evil.
We
move
evil.
beyond
We're
evil.
beyond that. Proof
Right.
beyond.
I mean, it still involves
Yeah,
evil
it
because
does.
hatred is evil. Let's get that correct.
That's it. That's the segue. So she's here. Make sure you guys stay tuned. We got a lot to speak about. When it comes to the presence of hatred.
That's it.
So the presence of hatred in America, the presence of hatred, and that's what we're talking about today.
Yep.
That's today. We went from cults to evil to celebrating evil. Now, hatred. Hatred's evil, dude.
That's it. And I think it's in line with what we were doing, because I think we're just to jump right in. Are we 1 day behind the 1 year?
Yeah, I think it was yesterday. Mm-hmm.
So it's Sunday. So for anybody that's hearing us, we are here in Orlando. So the Pulse incident that happened 1 year and 1 day ago, we were here. It affected us tremendously. Whether we knew somebody or we knew somebody that did know someone that was in there, we were all affected. And you didn't even really, I don't think you had to even know anybody to be affected by something that our government and the people that are in power here governing the state of Florida have called it and released it as a hate crime.
Yeah, my wife and I lived about 15 minutes away, and you can hear the emergency response vehicles, and it was a significant situation going on. Helicopters flying over, and just to find out that something like that happened in your city, it's
so close.
It's a big deal.
Yeah. And you could have been anywhere.
You could have been, walking by. You could. I used to drive by there all the time.
Downtown's mad close too.
Yeah. So
I know this is still a fresh wound for most people. Still talking about this incident. It's only been 366 days since it happened, and anybody that has a friend that was there, it's still fresh. I mean, how long do you take to recuperate from that? I remember one of the stories that I heard that most impacted me. Now that I am a father, I mean, I would have been calling and just trying to make sure that anyone in my family wasn't even around. But that was the most impacting thing. And that's where I can see the fact that the crime was so bad Like it was some sort of, there was definitely hate and evil all mixed up into this, but how anyone can also hate the person that did it as well. I mean, how do you judge them for something like that?
What did they go through? What were they experiencing? What led to that breaking point? And that's a really good point, because I think we're easy to show mercy and grace to one side, but mercy and grace to the one who committed it, it's tough because it's personal. I mean, I don't blame anybody for not wanting to show that love or that compassion, but it's almost like, what did he go through in his life previous? What buttons were pushed for him, and and all that stuff. So who knows?
Who knows? We'll never really know. And for the other side that is struggling with the, how do I forgive something? Shame on anybody for saying that they have to do that in a certain time, or that has to be done a certain way, because this was really the presence of hatred in an essence. In that moment of time, this was hate.
Yeah. I mean, in a situation like that, honestly, only it would take God to really intervene in a person's heart to feel like they can show that grace, especially if it was your family member, if it was whatever the situation was. In those instances, I think it takes more than just you mustering up some kind of emotional disconnect to say, I forget. I don't think that's not that it's not possible, but it's not going to be something that's common or easy.
No, they may not do it in their lifetime.
Yeah, period.
Yeah, it may not happen at all. You see the presence of hatred when a son loses his father, and not in a biological way, or in a way where his dad actually passed away, but in the fact that he just didn't have his dad, like his whole life. And then you have like this remainder of hatred that he may never be able to let go of his whole entire life, and vice versa. A mother dropping her kid off, and these are all different situations that maybe didn't have hate involved at all. Like, maybe it was like, hey, I really had to do this a certain way for whatever, even if it was for your good, and it ends up that the kid that was an orphan or whatever it may be now hates that person. And
or hates even a particular people group, even
because of it.
Me being Puerto Rican, and maybe I create some kind of notion in my head that all Puerto Ricans are this way. So if, let's say, I was abandoned and then I get adopted by a family of another ethnicity, then suddenly I'm coming in to say, these people are good, Puerto Rican people are bad, therefore I hate on this group. Even though I am part of the group, I still hate on the group.
And Puerto Ricans are amazing. And so are Cubans.
I think I'm the only one that's Dominican here, Dominican Chinese.
We'll leave that right where that's at.
I don't know how the two crossed,
how did
but
we get here?
That is awesome.
See, I'm only 90 miles. You got a trip.
That food is banging then. Think about that. Chinese food with Dominican food.
It's true.
Like those some plátanos on that. What?
With some lo mein. Plátanos and lo mein.
Forget it.
Blau mein. Yo, we can open something up. Pupion Reason luncheons. So we can start doing. But a lot of this stuff, I think when we talk about the presence of hatred, we have to look at people's views. I think that's where a lot of it will start. The gentleman that did what he did,
how they were raised.
Yeah, how they were raised, the view that they were showed. If I'm showed, or even now, just that whole culture right now of how we're supposed to view something. We're being fed by all these different tentacles the way that we really should be looking at the person next to you, or how you should be looking at your government, how I should be looking at Trump, how I should be looking at my mother. What's the role model of a mom? You used to be able to go on TV, watch a show, and say, oh man, that's the way it should be. It was all fake because, they were never fighting. It was like a really homey thing. Their episodes were really, the things they went through were so trivial. And now it's like I'm never looking at TV for any type of role model.
Man, why you gotta bring that up, man? I used to watch the Cosby Show. That was my thing. And then now, but Cosby with the accusations and all.
Accusations.
Yeah, but still, you watch the Cosby Show. I mean, you can't even watch the Cosby Show anymore because of that. But
I don't even think they're gonna air it anymore.
I mean, they can't. But that whole family's dysfunctional, like in real life. That whole family's great.
But like my family's dysfunctional.
My family's dysfunctional. Like, everybody's dysfunctional.
It just sucks because the more fame you get, the more you're on the radar.
Yeah,
people can see all of it. You know, everybody wants to hate Tiger Woods. It's like, oh, quick, he drove his car into something
on Xanax.
Yeah, on his multiple pills that he was on. But dude had, multiple back surgeries, multiple knee surgeries. Like you would be on pills,
and he was world famous. I'm not world famous, so I don't know what that pressure's like. And I haven't made hundreds of millions of dollars. So, but
that's the yin and the yang to being famous. Hey, I'm famous. I have all this stuff. But at the same time, now you live in a glass house, but it's so easy for people to hate. Like right after he got arrested, I mean, it was hate after hate after hate. I listened to Mike and Mike in the morning, and it was just hating him.
From Mike and Mike, or just general?
People.
Right.
They were playing it at people over, and everybody was just hating him. Mike and Mike is like, nah, you guys gotta chill, man. They were like, yo, this is the dude that everybody but everyone wants to see the guy that's winning fall. But that's also expectations as well. So we can view this this presence of hatred as a mixture between our views and how it meets our expectations. So like if you're not meeting my expectations and you already crossed the line with like my views, then man, it's a good chance that I'm not going to get along with you. And then that's the whole Yoda syndrome of like, if I don't get along with you, then what's the next step and what's the next step? I know we were talking before the episode, Mike, and you had mentioned something about fear. I think that was you, G, that you were talking about fear. And that's that whole thing. Like if I fear snakes, and I teach my daughter to fear snakes, it may be a good chance that she's going to grow up and she's not just going to fear them, she's going to hate them. And that can be
That's an interesting point.
That can be a gateway to hatred. Not that it's always the case.
No, but
fear can lead to hate.
But what you fear, especially when it comes to what your understanding is of, let's say, people or situations, then you can ultimately, like foods. I think that's a really good example too. I used to say, I hate broccoli, but I didn't know why I hated broccoli. Mm-hmm. I just knew that growing up, my family, they may have made broccoli here and there, and maybe at one point I tried it and I was like, I don't like it. Suddenly I have a disdain for broccoli, but today I'll kill some broccoli, dude.
It's just got to be made well.
I'll destroy.
Not in the Dominican
some
Republic.
Fish. I'll destroy.
I'm not a fan of broccoli.
Come on. But like fish, broccoli, anything, I didn't like that. And my language was, I hated it, but I just didn't understand it. I didn't know it. I wasn't intimate with it.
I think to that point, we use the word too often as well as an identifier when we don't really mean hate.
We say it so much.
Like, I said it. I was training somebody today at work, and I think I said hate. I hate this. I don't know. I can't count how many times. I was just thinking about different processes, and I was like, man, I hate this. This is how we should be doing it. Man, I hate this. Let's do it this way. And just thinking about it now, it's like I'm using the same word as an identifier. I don't really hate that process. I may just not be in line with the process. So I'm using it as an identifier, and that's what we do. We use it way too.
It's the other way too. I love this.
Oh,
do you really love that?
That's
like,
true.
do you know what that is? Do you I love. Oh, you're so. They meet you for the first time. Oh, I love you. You're so. Do you really love me? Do you know me?
Yeah,
like you don't know me, son.
No, you don't. You have no
you
idea
know
who
me,
I
son.
am. That's that agape, philo. That's all of the three different types of love is what I'm trying to teach my daughter, that when we say that love word, it could mean three different things. There's a love that I have as a friend, And then there's a love that I have as a family member. And then there's a love that I have, like, I am in love with you. You are my partner. Like, and those are different loves that we should understand. That when you're saying, I love you, daddy, it's not the same love that you're saying, you got much love for your friend, your girlfriend. It's different types of love that we show and care that we show. And it shouldn't all be the same. You shouldn't love me or use those same words and meanings that you do with a cheeseburger.
It's true. Really good it's true. No, that man.
But we do this.
No, it's different words that have different meanings based on different context.
But our language as English, we don't break it down. I think we don't break it down because it's been taught to us that this word love can mean multiple things, and this word hate can mean multiple things.
Or it's turned more into like an emotional response.
Yeah.
But there are definitions and words that we can use to replace it.
Of course.
Like the phila and the agape.
Phila, in your sneakers, or?
No, PH like.
Oh, got you. Yeah.
And then agape, like, I'm not gonna tell my daughter, or maybe I should, am I going to be that extreme? I don't think I will, but I'm going to teach her that there's different loves. But yeah, same thing with like hate. Like, I don't like this is probably what I should have said.
Or this bothers me, or this is whatever, right?
Hate. I hate this. And so we use it casually, just like we casually use the opposite of that, which is love. And I think that adds to the melting pot of saying, where is the start and the beginning? I don't know.
I mean, a lot of miscommunications led in that direction too. Not just from the hate and love piece, but a lot of different words across the board, like good, like what is good? What is the measure of good? Ravi Zacharias had given an example where he was sitting on a plane and somebody asked him, they were just talking about hobbies or whatever. He's like, yeah, I like tennis. Oh, are you good at tennis? He's like, yeah, I'm good at tennis. And then later on, the same guy, he's sitting next to, let's say, like Andre Agassi or one of those legendary tennis players. And he's like, hey, yeah, whatever. And he's like, oh, what do you do for a living? Oh, I play tennis. Oh, are you good? Yeah, I'm pretty good. Hey, you should play Ravi Zacharias. Ravi Zacharias is good. Like, there's a whole different measure of good. A professional tennis player that says he's good, it's a whole different planet as me saying I'm good in basketball compared to LeBron James that says he's good. So there's like different contexts and there's different degrees. So I think language, period, causes for there to be a lot of miscommunication and a lot of like discord in general, but specifically since we're on topic of hatred and what that means and the degree of it and all of that, I think it's important to kind of keep that in mind.
Yeah, and I think our expectations mix into that hatred in a way that can either fuel it or put water or salt on top of it as well, because we want, as humans, most of the time we want what we can't have, and most of the time we can't appreciate what's in front of us. So let's bring it to Trump. So let's go straight to Trump. It's so easy to destroy somebody very quickly. And now I don't want to say that I'm for or I am against, but what I'm saying is it's easy when it's not you, anybody here up there doing these things, to say, well, you did that wrong, you did this wrong, you did that wrong, you did this wrong, because they're not meeting your expectations of what you want a president to look like. Like, you wanted them to look like this. But what if Hillary didn't look like that either? Then you're still going to be that guy. So is the issue really them, or is it really just you and your expectations? Now, I can understand policy and foreign policy and different things that we do that you may not agree on, but people hate, dude.
They always find a reason to hate in some way.
They hate him, though.
But they hate anyone, but I think more prevalent, it's being like he is the poster child for hate, as if he's the one who created this notion of racism, of sexism. Like if he invented it, he didn't invent it. Like, but it's kind of in
yeah. I mean,
it doesn't have to be necessarily like he invented it, but if he's a poster child of it, then he's relating to it in some way. So with sexism, he said, I can grab any woman by the vagina and it's okay, and he's our president. So we're making this now okay. And I think that's where, yes, there is some hate, but more than anything, I think people are saying, like, this is not okay to do, and nor should it be.
Yeah, for sure.
So where does it go from there?
Yeah, but I don't think even, I mean, like, with those things, of course, those are things that we look at, and I don't know who thinks they're okay. Now, there will be a select group of people that will look at what he said and say, you know what?
He can do no wrong.
Yeah,
right.
He's going to, and you're just an extremist. Like, you're a Trump lover. The way that people are jumping on LeBron James and they like him, or Kevin Durant. Like, this man is a figure. Whether he wears a presidential hat or whether he wears a jersey, these are all figures that we can have idols of. Our idols are not going to do the right thing every time, and that would be one way that somebody that absolutely loves him, you can find out if you are an idol lover, if after you hearing somebody, hearing Joanny say that, you're like, nah, but he's still good. I mean, everything, like, he's straight. Dude is raw. Like,
clearly not.
Yeah, he made a mistake. And but
he's a scapegoat for a lot of things as well. Like, to Joanny's point, yeah, he does definitely demonstrate and at least bring to light different things like the immigration issue. So I think it brings to light how much people actually don't like immigrants, like how much the white community kind of band together for specific initiatives. And I think it's a good thing that things are coming out into light. Absolutely, the behavior in many instances are not something that should be celebrated. Yeah. But I do think, kind of seeing it and making him a scapegoat and say he's the reason for X, Y, and Z. No. Those things have existed in everyone's heart. Yeah. It just wasn't coming out. Now he's there. The toupee's running the show. Oh, yeah. Or the comb over, whatever.
I absolutely am so happy that he took office. And let me tell you the reason why.
Do it.
Let me tell you the reason why, and you guys are gonna think I'm crazy or whatever for
email us at proofbeyondreason@gmail.com.
Okay, so that was Religion Man or Lord Suave, whichever one you guys want to call me. But okay, so let me tell you real quick. So I'm ecstatic that he took office, and this is the reason why. Because 4 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, right, you would look through your Facebook feed or you would talk to your family member that's younger than you, and you would get nothing but culture, hip-hop, rap, whatever it is. You would get anything but things that will change the world.
That's true.
Like, let's take that in, okay? So I talked to my cousin that my cousins that I love with all of my heart, that I want to be men that would look at would know more stats about their government than they would their favorite basketball player or baseball player, but they end up spending hours and hours on the baseball, the basketball, the video games, and all of that. This is the first time in history that we've had the most age groups, all the way to the lowest age group, involved in politics across the board. Oh, across the world. It's not just America now. There's
for
people
real dudes in France are like
that are hating us now. And it's like their kids are growing up looking at politics now. So that's why I'm so happy, because you know what? If he had to take all of that and say, you know what? I'm going to be the poster child for all of it, for the hatred, for all that. And whether he does a good or bad job, from here on out, I sat with my cousin, and for the first time ever, I had a debate about politics, and the dude was telling me foreign policies.
Dope. That's actually pretty cool.
I'm sitting back, and I'm like, what? I'm voting another 4 years. What?
That's like me and Joanny. Me and Joanny, that's how we
think about.
We go at it all the time.
Yeah.
I'm a criminology student, so I always have a lot of facts about just crime.
Yeah.
And some of the comments that he said, regardless, I'm like, this isn't true. But then you look at the what he said. I'm like,
yeah.
Okay, from the website he got it from, yeah, it's true. But from something like the FBI, no, it's not true.
Yeah.
But going back to what you just said, like, he didn't have to win for us to care. It was just, he had to just be in the race to begin with, in my opinion, or even just become the Republican nominee. That brought a lot of outrage. For him to win, I don't think it necessarily.
I think the win does take it to a whole new level, because
now
you can't truly hate something that doesn't truly affect you yet. And so he really didn't affect anybody when he said, hey, I'm Kanye West, I'm running in 2012. You know? 2020. Yeah, cool. Okay. Like, it's not going to affect me.
But if he runs
running and he wins,
forget it.
Hold on. Like, I'm going to have to, I got to take in, like, all of it. I need to start reading. I need to figure out what law. I mean, and in the first 100 days, Johnny, he was using that pen. Trump was using his pen. He was like, executive order, executive order, executive order. And my cousin knows the executive orders, and I'm like, hold on. I love it.
Hold on. The signature is pretty on point, though. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I was watching the signature. I was like, dang, that signature it's like $1 million signature. I was like, that signs checks, dude. I was a little upset, but.
He just signed a check, too. What was it?
It actually is a $1 million signature, though.
Yeah, it is. It is.
But with the executive orders comes now a lot of people being interested in policy-specific laws. So what is it constitutional? Is it unconstitutional? Especially with the travel ban that's happening. It's going through we're talking about now going to the Supreme Court. I think it would be funny if the Supreme Court said, no, we're just going to stick to what the Ninth Circuit said, but it's probably not going to happen. But now it's a talk of what power does a president actually has or does not have.
And I love it because it's not just the president. In American government is not governed by its president.
Nope. Correct.
Okay, so we're governed by 3 branches, and understanding that, we now shine a light, Joanny, on all of it.
Yep.
And that's what I'm most ecstatic about, is the fact that now people are looking into your senators, they're looking into your commissioners, and they're saying, hold on. What do you really stand for? Because no one knew any of their stats. Like, just people in politics, the amount of hypocrisy and the amount of being able to get away with whatever you want is crazy. Because why? Because the light was never shined on them. Now, and that's why I will take that over any of the latter. I really would. Because I know his power is limited. He has a limited power. What I won't stand for is people thinking he has unlimited power, because he doesn't.
Right.
But because of that limited power, give me Trump today, because of what the ramifications. Have you guys really taken what I just said in?
No, absolutely.
Like, people are now looking at their commissioners, and people are now going to be more involved to do how you feel, how I feel, how Gio feels. Now they're understanding, oh, there's an outlet for that. Like, I can actually change a law to change that. Like, oh, dip, 1 million people marching can actually move my state officials to vote a certain way. My electoral votes that only count for how many? I have millions of people here, but I only have in this state 10 electoral votes. So those 10 people are ruling what I have to say. No one ever cared before.
Right.
But now they're caring. And they're caring to the youngest of ages, because it's everywhere. It's all over. So that's why I take a different stance than most people, and I am ecstatic that he's in the White House right now, because that's going to happen. 4 years from now, they're still going to remember it. My cousins are still going to remember the fact
a year from now, whatever happens. Yeah, who knows?
If he gets impeached or if he doesn't. You know, it's real easy to look at all the bad as well. And that's one thing that I told my cousin. I said, it's so easy to look at all of the mishaps that have happened to him, but you have to also see some of the good as well. You have to take both of them in. And you have to do that not just with our president, but do that with your boss at work. and do that with your mom and your dad. And these are life lessons that we can learn, or you'll end up growing up hating somebody. But I really felt like he was hating Trump. Like, that was for sure. But what was the underlining thing to that is that he really started learning. And that, to me, it's like, wow. So he learned. And he came to a point where he said, out of all of this evidence that I have, I hate you. And it's a little funny.
Your cousin came to that conclusion?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And it's like, I hate you. But it's like, hold on. Now, you did something that you never would have done. Because he never would have done it, man. If Hillary was still in office, I really do not believe it would have taken such a shockwave to the youth. Because that's something that never gets touched. You can touch adults all day and people with kids and people that are getting affected by taking away their VA and people that are getting affected by taking away their Medicaid and their Medicare and all of their benefits. Oh, yeah, we're going to run. We're going to say something. But those kids that are on their Walkmans,
Walkmans. Whoa.
You guys know how old I am.
Whoa.
Now. Hold on.
Hey.
I was walking around with a Walkman.
Slow down.
iPods.
Hold on.
Pause that.
You know the first time I got an iPod, I cried.
For real?
Bro, my Walkman used to skip all the time.
This
It wasn't a Walkman. It was a standstill, man, because I could not move. If I moved, it would skip. And you know there's that little button that says anti-skip or whatever. Like,
whoa, guy. That's
Hold on.
Whoa, this guy. If you guys want to donate an Amazon gift card to Ivan, proofbeyondreason@gmail.com.
That's it. You could do that. But now with our phones that really are computers, they're not so much phones. They're just computers that can do everything. And then a secondary thing they can call. You don't have to look up politics. There's so many other things screaming at you today, but now they are.
But, okay, so you have your phone, and with that, politics, not politics, whatever, like you said, people not meeting your expectations, you're rooting for this team, but this team won. There's a lot of, like, not even positive conflict, because conflict in it of itself is good. So right now, just a moment ago, we have a little bit of conflict. You said one thing, Joanny said another thing. G and I looked at each other like, what is this dude about to say? And the conflict is a good thing because it brings to light a new idea. It brings to light a new purpose. It brings to light creativity where now you're thinking in a different way. So conflict in the workplace, conflict among relationships, conflict wherever it's present, it can be good and constructive when it's focused around an idea and trying to come to a place where people can either come to a consensus that we don't agree or come to a consensus that, you know what, that's a broken system, kind of like your cousin. He found out, man, there's broken things going on, or like you mentioned before, we didn't know that there were this many votes that were required to make this happen, and now we know. So the presence of conflict is good. People generally shy away from conflict when they believe it's going to cause animosity. And that's when you're face to face. But what we're seeing now more and more is using this phone device the presence of hatred is ridiculous. Like, there's bullying. There's, like, people are killing themselves over cyberbullying. What? Really? Like, you're going to just message somebody because you're tough online or whatever, and people are killing themselves over this seemingly hatred and this presence of hatred in society. Like the social media can be used for several things, but it's being used for jabbing at people. It's being used to bring people down. It's being used to discriminate against. It's being used to say one side of the argument. And then if you have another side of the argument, it's difficult to read because language is so interesting. Without body language, without eye contact, without, the fear that somebody's going to punch you in the face, you're real quick to pop off and say anything. But when you have all those factors in, the body language, the eye contact, when you can understand and you have a little bit of context, it's a little bit of a better discussion and you can come to better conclusions. But when you're just typing on the computer, when you just have words, a lot of us don't have good grammar skills. You don't have good enough grammar skills to even communicate clearly enough, let alone to have a positive or a constructive discourse. So even to go back to the topic of Trump or whoever, that the phone device is being used in a very negative way. So even in the presence of something that can be seen as positive, it's really coming down as negative.
But to what you said as far as conflict, so then what if the conflict came from hatred?
Then so if it's as a result of the hatred, then it can be a good thing.
Because the band together of
correct
after the pulse, after such a repulsing,
right.
No pun intended, but after such a repulsing act at this club, now you see more gay pride than ever. I mean, more like holding hands, and more like, hey, this is okay. Like, this is fine, and I'm going to band together, and you lost somebody, I lost somebody, but we can all live together, peace and harmony type thing, even though I don't believe that we can live together in peace and harmony, but you see something out of hatred, like you said, there can come
positive things from the presence of hatred, but then there can also be the presence of negative things in the hatred, or in the presence of hatred, meaning people will have sympathy or empathy over a people group that are going through whatever. So let's say, for example, we're talking about, let's say, the homosexual community with the LGBT community specifically, because not everyone is part of that community. Yeah. But let's say the LGBT community that went through that heinous crime, I think there's a lot of good that came out of it in terms of even from the response of very religious groups in that started to reassess their behavior
the way
towards people group. Absolutely. But I think on the flip side, I think there was even a motion towards compromise in certain ways that can be
harmful,
can be seen as harmful, in the sense that those who hold to particular worldviews now have compromised their worldviews, which can be good or bad. It depends on the situation. If we're coming,
a fine line
there is a fine line. There's an absolutely fine line. And, when it comes to biblical doctrine, there was no need to compromise biblical doctrine in order to show mercy, grace, and love. There was never a need to do that, because Scripture always presents that you should hate no one. There should be no presence of hatred. No, for any Christian or to stand in front of a whatever celebration and hold up signs saying, we hate you, or that's insane.
Which just happened, just so
right,
we know.
Right.
Just yesterday, gentleman got arrested. His one sign said sin equals death, and on the other sign it said no homos will go to hell just like faggots.
Right. Wow. So
and he got arrested for disturbing the peace.
Right. I mean, and there's no justification for that. There's no
but
they hold to a biblical worldview, there is no justification, because the biblical worldview does not hold to that behavior. It doesn't hold. But now.
That's where the teaching. I mean, there's just so much because where did he get that from? Does he hate homosexuals, or is it the fact that he's reading and he's not understanding, or is he being brainwashed or taught by a false teacher? But there's so much, and it's there is that fine line that, do you point someone's sins out if you love them, or are you not the judge?
Well, that's what I'm coming from, is that, to that point, you particularly, and I'm speaking specifically on the biblical worldview. So if there is such an issue where we are, we're to address certain things, or come to light and show love and show mercy and grace, regardless of the circumstance, it's tough when you have that type of representation to say, that is the biblical stance. And see, everyone, this person right here holding the sign and stuff, that is Christianity. And no, that's not Christianity. In fact, Paul, when he's talking about sin, he's pointing out sin, and he's saying, hey, this is sin, homosexuality is a sin, this is sin, this is sin. He's pointing out all sin. But then he says this amazing statement. I think it's 2 Corinthians or 1 Corinthians chapter 6. He says, but these were you. So the audience that he's talking to, he's saying, of the sins basically that I've just listed here, was you. Mm-hmm. You were these things. But by God's grace, you've been washed and cleansed and this. So you're really in no position to stomp these other people out. What, did you forget where you came from? Did you forget you were in line for non-inheritance of the kingdom? Did you forget that you merited death? I'm talking to you. I'm talking to the listener. Did you not know that you were on the path to death and destruction? You should be stomped out because of your sin. But by God's grace alone, do you have any knowledge of who he is? And
that's the beauty of the gospel.
That's the beauty of the gospel.
That the gospel tells you that you grab a mirror and it's not
negating the sin though, because the sin has to be brought to light. It's the treatment.
But the fact that you're holding a mirror up is so counter to holding a sign up saying something else. And so what we've done as a culture is we stopped holding the mirror to ourselves and have said, I'm okay now. There's nothing that really is wrong with me that I have to point out, but here's my binoculars. And I've grabbed a pair of binoculars and I'm looking into everything I can. And I'm pointing out
across the board. Yeah, that's a cultural thing across the board. It has little to do even with a particular worldview. No, it's across the board. We all do that.
As a culture, we are all doing
like
that.
I'm quick to point out, so, okay, I don't watch basketball, right? But I'm quick to point out if I'm watching basketball, LeBron James should have did this and that. Yeah. But watch me play ball. You watch me play ball, and you're going to point out how many flaws I made. Bro, you suck, dude. Like, don't even come on the court anymore. How am I in a position to point at him saying, oh, he's terrible at this, when, hello.
But you would be called a hater, just so you know. You would be a hater.
It's true.
You would, yeah.
It's true.
And I think that they use it in the right term. When the hater term comes up, it's more like, if you're saying something against me that you do yourself, you're a hater. Like, that's what you are. You're hating, you know?
Yeah. But where else do we see hate? We see hate everywhere. Mm-hmm. We see hate, like we pointed out, online. We see hate when it comes to the newscasters, for the sports commentary and those kinds of things, such and such. But in the university, I know, so Joanny is a university student. She's a senior now. And nice. And so, yeah, she thinks she's smarter than everybody at this table. That's what happens when you go to school. That's what happens when you go to school and you're about to graduate. And then when you graduate, you're like, I know nothing.
Right?
I
didn't really learn that.
I really didn't. I thought I did, and then I got broken down. Anyway, so, but she has a lot of exposure, particularly when it came to Pulse, particularly when you saw Trump come in office. She's just seen this crazy amount of like hatred in the presence of university. So I don't know.
What school do you go to?
Florida State.
Oh, nice.
Go Noles.
Wow.
So talk a little bit about like what you see.
Well, after the Pulse shooting, for a lot of FSU students, it hit close to home because we had a shooting when I was doing orientation.
That's right. Remember that. We were on campus, and they had the library shut down because somebody walked into the library and started shooting up.
I remember that. That was shortly after or before?
Pulse?
Yeah.
Oh, this was like 3 years ago, 4 years ago.
Oh, so I'm thinking about, now that I was in another state, that something just like that happened right around that same time. Mm-hmm.
So for FSU students, it hit close to home because even though no one died, this is a club is supposed to be fun, where, I guess your definition of fun can be subjective, but this is not a place where you're supposed to be murdered because of who you are. I go to a library to study, not to be shot at because of whatever reason this guy wanted to shoot in the library. Mm-hmm. And it's the main library there. So polls specifically hit home, but with the election, there's definitely been hate even with me. I had to sit with my friend who is the opposite of me. I'm more Democratic, I guess you could say. She voted for Trump. I didn't. Okay. And I had a lot of hate because I'm like, I don't understand this. And this is ridiculous. How do we have someone who says all these things and is in office? I don't understand how women, for example, can vote for a man who says all these sexist things and they're okay with it.
Yeah.
So
these are conversations you're having with your friend that's a Republican.
Yes. And I asked her, I'm like, why did you vote for him? And she specifically was dealing with Syria. She's like, well, I grew up in a Christian household, and just growing up, it was more of a Republican ideology. So that's what I grew up on. This is now why I believe what I believe in. And I'm like, oh man, like I've been hating people without even knowing them. Yeah. And I'm just making this blanket assumption that every Trump supporter is this way without even questioning who they are or anything.
In essence, we all do that, you know, and that's broken logic. It's a fallacy that because it's raining outside now means that my day is messed up. Like that's not. You can dance in the rain. Like people, it's the same thing with the.
It might rain in like 10 minutes. I don't know if you want to go outside and dance. We can make that happen.
I'm saying, but it's that logic that we use that says, hey, if A believes in B, then if you believe in A, then you must believe B too. Like no, like I can believe in if we're gonna use Trump, I can believe in Trump without believing every one of his ideologies. And that's possible. That's because you can't take anybody for everything that they've done. I'm going to end up hating him because he's going to fall so short. Everybody falls so short of it that when do we put the line? You know, would Hillary have been any better? We don't know. But was she even supposed to be in the election to begin with? We don't know.
That's a whole nother argument.
Yeah, that's a whole nother one. Go ahead. I had to bring it up because I knew Gio. Go ahead, G. Go ahead, G.
With Hillary,
I was about to go.
Go ahead, G. No, you know, I think, but in the universities, like we saw, that was common ground. You know, I think the universities really saw that. So, what were some of the tensions that you saw in the schools?
Well, for starters, in classrooms, if you saw, it's at least in Florida. They did a survey of who won, and you saw across the board in all of the big universities, so UF, USF, FIU, Florida State, they all were blue, so they all voted for Hillary, like just majority-wise.
Yes, all the big universities.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, essentially, the minority in this case, even though it's a majority white school, the minority were the white Republicans. Or not every Republican is white, but just in this, I guess, context, there's a safe assumption that the majority of Republicans on my campus are probably going to be white. We have like the FSU Dems, we have the FSU Republicans.
Yeah. Okay.
Most of the people who are in those groups just happen to.
Just so happened. No, you can be honest. They're white.
I mean, I do go to a majority white school, so there's not too much of diversity, quote unquote, there. But there was just always tension, especially the day after the election. A lot of people were crying. I was crying. I was so upset. I just couldn't believe what was happening. My cousin's girlfriend, me and her were crying. We didn't want to deal with anyone that day.
Yeah.
I worked at Starbucks, and I used to work at one of the Starbucks on campus. Most of the people who were there either voted for Hillary, or third party, because they didn't want to vote for Hillary, and I think maybe one or two actually ended up voting for Trump. But you couldn't talk to anyone because everyone was just very sad, very solemn. Yeah. You did not want to deal with people that day. And of course, Trump supporters were wearing their hats, their shirts, and they were celebrating.
And that's another point right there that we don't really look at the whole big picture. Like we don't ever. We're such an unempathetic culture right now that it's really me. If I'm a Trump supporter, it's me. If I'm a Hillary supporter, it's me. It's whatever it really feels like for me. It really affects me. And I don't stop for a second maybe to think of how it does affect somebody that doesn't believe the same point of view as me. But you can see the presence of hatred and how it can evolve when you have, for one of the first times ever, a man going out with his Trump shirt, and the very thing that he's being accused of starts happening to him and his family. So it's like, hold on. Like, you're claiming that his leader, A plus B, you must believe in B as well. You're claiming that your guy is this, but then he's getting hit. He's getting beat. He's getting cursed at. He's getting called names. And he's just out there wanting to have a real discussion. Let's have real discussions. I can't tell you how many videos I saw like that of people that are like, yo, I just got punched in the face. Like, literally just got punched in the face by the blue.
Like and we have dorms in there, and you have windows, and people would either outside of their doors or the windows put like who are they supporting for. And I know that someone lived on one of the closer dorms to like the main campus, because there's kind of like a east and
Somebody
west.
Somebody
put Trump up. Someone broke into their dorm and messed up their whole
room.
Yeah,
like
see, that's
that.
Crazy.
You can't expect for negative mixed with negative to equal that positive in your right away in your own life. That's not going to happen. This guy doesn't like Trump, so let me break into his home. Let me steal what he has. Like, how are you serious?
Right.
That's hate.
I mean, but we're seeing more and more, and again, it's not necessarily because of, but the fact that it's coming to light, we're seeing more and more what is really racism in the U.S., what is really any form of discrimination in the U.S. You know, are you of this education status? Yeah, the police officers. You know, I think a lot of the university students, even there's this divide. A friend of mine sent over a stat that among university students, there's those who are educated with a university degree tend to look at religion as a whole, regardless of the worldview. They look at it as a whole in that bucket that we talked about, you know, several weeks ago, and it's seen as futile. It's seen as non-important. It's seen as there's dismissed. Right. So there's that form of hatred. And automatically there's a label. So the same thing with police officers. There's a label, like all police officers are X, which is not true. I have family members who are police officers, and they're genuinely great people, and they do their job the best that they can. But there's labels put on people, groups. There's labels put on individuals, and there's real animosity, violent animosity towards. Where do you know, in what is concluded? How do you get to somewhere else? Like, how do you go to a new level if that's the response? Right. You know, it can't be the response where you're punching people in the face. No. Can't be in the response for you know, people getting lit up, buildings set on fire, shootings. Like what? You get nowhere with that, and it does bring to light certain things because the behaviors will bring to light those who maybe desire more rational and more reasonable discussions. So you need to have the presence of those people who are there ready and willing to have those talks. But my goodness.
But I think it's
evil.
It's good for us to understand from that biblical point of view that you were talking about, that when you see something like that, you look at a Christ that sat with people that had completely opposite views. You know, like he sat with them. And when the Bible goes to saying that he dined with them or he sat with them, that's not just sitting down and not talking. Like that means he actually interacted. That's really what that word is more action based than it is just stating that he did this thing.
There was the presence of conflict. He challenged them. They challenged him. And then ultimately what happened? They murdered him.
Yeah, but even in his presence of conflict, I think it was beautiful to see that what a model role model that we have in Christ, that in the presence of his conflicts, people challenging him in front of his own peers, because that's difficult for anybody. You challenge a kung fu master in front of his peers, he's going to feel a certain way. And if you're not really about it, then it's like, dang, I got to do something, or something has to happen. And the humility of understanding and the humility to say, you're confronting me right now in front of everyone I just taught. Like, and I'm just gonna approach that conflict in a way that I think we can learn from it. We can learn from Christ in those two ways, that if conflict gets approached to us, that we can stop for a second and understand who's speaking, and then speak clearly back without any intentions of harming or hurting that person. But then we can also be proactive in going to somebody's table. And that's one thing that he really did as Christ. He was proactive in going to people that were, tax collectors, known as the worst of the worst back in the day, threw a party, and he was there. Like, multiple people that shouldn't have been there, but he's there. And his own people looking at him like through the window, like, yo, isn't that? Nah, because then he surely would know that that's a tax collector, and that this is a government official, and that this person takes from my family, and that person, and they're right. Yeah, that's a tax collector that took for your family. That's the guy that changed the law to take away Medicaid and Medicare from and that's this, but he is in there talking to them. And what are you doing? You're hating.
Haters gonna hate, baby.
Haters gonna hate. That's
Haters
it.
gonna hate, baby.
So why he sounded like he was like an R&B singer, like right at the end of a song.
We can make it happen.
Haters gonna hate, baby. But I think that's something that we can learn from, looking at the biblical worldview and understanding that Jesus, in a time like this, would he be the one to look outside of the window, or would he be asking, or not even asking, just walking up and sitting down and talking to these people? All right, guys. Thank you guys for listening. Proof Beyond Reason.
You made it this far. It's amazing.
You guys have definitely made it. Let's give a quick shout out to Matthew Movement. Wear What You Believe. Make sure you guys are checking them out. That's a hot clothing line. And as you guys already know, every single Saturday, we are going to be posting to the best of our ability.
We're going to try.
Yes.
But we're going to try.
Let's give a special thanks to Joanny for coming all the way from Knoll Land over here to
you already know,
to Val State land, because this is Valencia State College land over here. We don't even got teams.
Val State, baby, what?
But we got people not in debt.
Intramural sports, what?
Yes. So shout outs to all of you guys listening, man. Please make sure that you're either commenting. We're on iTunes, we're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, and we are on SoundCloud as well. Fam. So if you guys want to chime in on any of these discussions and go one-on-one in the ring with either Mike the Baptist, Geology, even Joanny, if you want to talk to Joanny, if you want to talk to Religion Man or Lord Suave, you guys can hit me up on my gamer tag. No, you don't like that? My gamer tag?
No, nobody's going to hit you up on the gamer tag.
No, but you guys can also email us at proofbeyondreason@gmail.com. And as always, guys, be blessed. Until the next one.
Peace.